Travel the world without leaving your couch? Games have always given us that taste, but sometimes the cities and games are so impressive that it feels like you're actually walking through them. Whether it's the insane realism, the detailed environment, or the unique atmosphere, these cities make you stop playing just to look around. Today, we're going to take a tour of the best cities in video games, the ones that are almost characters in their own right. Ready? Let's go. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to Play Hunters. If you can subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it, from one gamer to another. Before we start, drop a comment with a city from the world of games you'd love to visit. Let's dive into the first game. Few places serve as perfect backdrops for espionage like Chongqing. In Hitman 3, this rainy Chinese city becomes the ideal portrait of a secretive, suffocating metropolis with layers upon layers. Neon lights explode in reflections on the wet streets. Narrow alleys hide more than they seem, and there's a constant sense of tension in the air. It's the kind of setting that feels alive, breathing alongside the player. Every step you take carries the feeling that something might happen at any moment. The city is not just a backdrop. It dictates the pace of the game. Every building, staircase, and passage directly connects to different approaches. You can enter a futuristic lab hidden behind an alley or infiltrate a crowded cyber cafe full of NPCs. Everything is designed to allow total creativity. Chongqing encourages you to explore, test routes, and pay close attention to the environment. It's the perfect place for those who love to improvise and adapt plans in real time. And the atmosphere takes it all to another level. The constant rain hides sounds, aids stealth, and reinforces the weight of silent decisions. The closed spaces contrast with the open streets, creating a constant tension between exposure and cover. Even the NPCs seem to be in the right places, making the world feel more believable. In the end, Chongqing is more than just a setting. It shapes the gameplay, sets the rhythm, and leaves its mark as one of the most memorable maps in the franchise. Novigard is one of those cities that doesn't ask for attention. It demands it. In The Witcher 3, this metropolis full of towers, markets, and dark alleys represents civilization in a broken world. But don't be fooled. Behind the noble halls and towering churches, there's corruption, fear, and blood in the streets. You feel the tension in the air just walking through it, hearing preachers shouting, thieves running, and the people murmuring. It's a place where luxury and filth coexist side by side, and this duality connects directly to the gameplay. Missions in this city range from political to supernatural, taking you from high society parties to underground interrogations. You negotiate with nobles and hunt creatures in the docks, all without leaving the same district. It's a city that holds you because it's not static. It reacts to what you do. Even walking through crowds feels different depending on who you are and what you carry in your pockets. What's most impressive is how it feels like it has its own soul. The details are extraordinary, from posters on the walls to random fights happening in corners. The sound of bells, the flames of bonfires, the music from taverns, everything creates a density that makes you forget it's a game. It's more than just a point on the map. It's a mirror of a medieval world engulfed in crisis. And as an RPG setting, it's simply unforgettable. When the city is abandoned and criminals take over, what remains is an urban battlefield engulfed in chaos. Arkham Knight transforms Gotham into a vertical nightmare, filled with shadows, neon, and smoke. There's no traffic, no civilians, just threats in every corner. The dynamic lighting and tense atmosphere don't let you forget. Danger lurks in every alley. And you, like the bat, need to know every rooftop to survive. Flying from one building to another, breaking into structures, or making your way with a Batmobile never feels repetitive. The map encourages constant movement, whether to escape a trap or solve a hidden puzzle. The city reacts to your actions. Villains take over districts. Threats emerge as the story progresses, and everything seems to be in constant flux. Side missions arise naturally, and the game invites you to explore without forcing you into dead-end paths. Nothing here is random. Every broken light and message on the radio serve a purpose. The flashing signs, the graffiti in the alleys, the sound of drones in the sky. It all reinforces a sense of psychological siege. Even without a single citizen in sight, the city has a presence, a life. And more than just a setting, it feels like it's complicit with the villains, shaping the cat-and-mouse game you're trapped in. It's the kind of place that doesn't forget you, even when the mission ends. This is one of those cities that never sleeps. Cyberpunk 2077 places you in the middle of an urban colossus that shines, beeps, pulses, and suffocates everything around it. Night City is massive, dirty, hyper-technological, and full of promises that dissolve in the air. The contrast between neon and sewage, luxury and decay, creates a space that doesn't just impress, but also weighs down. You walk, drive, or fly through it feeling that at any moment something's bound to go wrong. The city's structure favors both exploration and immersion. Neighborhoods like Watson and Santo Domingo have their own rhythms, specific gangs, and stories hidden in every spray-painted wall. Missions pop up spontaneously, and the verticality changes the way you move and perceive the world. Walking reveals details that a car would never show, while shootouts turn into cinematic action scenes, depending on the location. It's a city and gameplay shaping each other. Every alley seems built to reinforce the chaos of the cyberpunk universe. Vendors shouting, NPCs chatting, billboards constantly spitting out ads. Everything reinforces excess and oppression. At night, it shines like a festival of despair, and by day, it feels more tired than empty. All of this creates a level of immersion rarely matched in other games. You're not playing on a map, you're living inside something that insists on swallowing you whole. Recreating a real city is no easy feat, especially when blending tradition with cutting-edge technology. Watch Dogs Legion nails it by transforming London into a futuristic stage filled with surveillance, resistance, and details true to life. The icons are easy to recognize: Big Ben, the London Eye, subway stations, but what truly surprises is how all of this fits into a distorted political context. It's not just a postcard, it's a watched capital, where every corner seems to be following you with its eyes. The city isn't just there to look pretty, it dictates the gameplay style. The narrow streets force quick decisions during chases. The cameras on every corner change your approach to missions, and access to buildings defines who you'll recruit. Each region has its own challenges, and winning the trust of each neighborhood changes the local atmosphere. Hacking systems, exploring alleys, or flying drones through the skies become the natural part of everyday life. Everything works to give you freedom while simultaneously placing you against the system. Even with its futuristic touch, London still carries its soul. You feel the weight of the classical architecture next to modern buildings and invasive neon lights. The NPCs' accents, the subway sounds, graffiti, and protest scrawls. Every element reinforces that you're in the midst of a living, tense city. And when you start walking without haste, it's hard not to get lost in the landscape. In this game, the environment doesn't just react to you. It responds with its own personality. Los Santos is the perfect example of how a city can carry an entire game on its back. In GTA 5, this urban space blends wealth, decay, nature, and concrete into a massive setting full of identity. The sense of scale is impressive, but what truly stands out is how naturally everything connects. No area feels isolated or gratuitous. You sense a flow, as if every street has a reason to be there. Everything around you influences what happens during the game. Missions are impacted by geography, buildings, traffic, and even the density of people in different areas. Moving between environments changes how you approach challenges, hide, attack, or escape. And even outside of main missions, the space offers stimuli nonstop. It's a setting that works in both chaos and detail, leaving room for improvisation and surprise. The ambience reinforces this at every moment. The traffic, the sounds of the city, NPC interactions, and even the lighting change as time passes. The game never needs to push you into action. The environment itself creates stories. And it's this vitality that makes every return to the city reveal something new. Los Santos isn't just a setting, it's the engine that keeps everything running. Descending to the bottom of the ocean and discovering an entire world hidden in the depths would be impactful on its own. But BioShock turns it into something unforgettable. Rapture is a submerged city built on the promise of total freedom, where science, art, and ego walk without limits. But this utopia failed, and what remains are corridors flooded with ideology, decay, and echoes of grandeur. Every wall tells a story. Every flickering light reinforces the collapse. Its beauty and ruin in equal measure. The city is more than just a backdrop, it sets the tone, rhythm, and even the tension of combat. Tight spaces force you to think twice before acting, and the map's verticality demands constant attention. There are no obvious routes. Everything feels improvised, as if chaos had redesigned the architecture. The player feels the weight of isolation, but also the curiosity to explore. Every room can be a trap, a shelter, or a revelation. The sound of water trickling down the walls, voices distorted by the radio, and the details in the environment create a claustrophobic atmosphere without being forced. Rapture slowly envelopes you until you realize you don't want to leave, even with danger lurking in every corner. It's a capsule of what the world could have been and what it should never become. It's the kind of city that not only supports a game, but defines what it is. Nothing in Hekseville seems to follow the rules of the real world, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. In Gravity Rush 2, this city floats in suspended blocks in the sky, connected by bridges and full of uneven surfaces. The architecture blends the ancient with the surreal, creating curving streets, twisted alleys, and buildings that defy logic. You feel like you're in a living, dreamed place where every corner holds a surprise. The strangeness becomes part of its charm. The game's gravity mechanics transform the way you interact with the space. Climbing a wall or flying through the sky turns from a scene to a constant action. The city isn't just explorable, it's the tool that defines your movement. Missions take advantage of verticality, open spaces, and floating obstacles to challenge the player in new ways. Nothing works like in a regular game, and the city is the main reason for that. Even with all this organized chaos, the place has a strong personality. Markets with imaginable voices and smells, industrial areas, upscale zones, and mysterious alleys form a coherent whole. The soundtrack reinforces the dreamlike atmosphere, and the characters moving through the space seem to follow their own logic. It's a place that could collapse at any moment, but while it lasts, it's unforgettable. An impossible city you understand better with your feet off the ground. Few places frighten you with a single glance like this one. In Bloodborne, Yharnam is the physical reflection of a Gothic nightmare, with narrow streets, massive cathedrals, and a constant feeling that something is wrong. Nothing here feels welcoming. Windows are shut, gates are locked, and shadows move without explanation. Every step is filled with tension, and the scenery seems to whisper that it's about to get worse. It's not just fear, it's architectural oppression. This oppression extends into the gameplay in its rawest form. The map is interconnected, full of shortcuts, hidden paths, and structures that reveal new layers as you progress. Enemies lurk around corners, and the geography of the places directly influences the rhythm of the battles. You learn to read the environment to anticipate traps, ambushes, and counterattack opportunities. The setting teaches you and punishes you all the time. But it's not just hostile. It's beautiful in its decay, with intricate buildings, suffocating lighting, and a soundtrack that only appears when needed. The place breathes blood and secrets, and walking through it feels like traversing a space forgotten by the living. There is no refuge, no safety, and that's what makes it so unforgettable. It's a city that doesn't welcome the player. It tests your courage until the very end. To explode. In Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, Prague is more than just a futuristic city. It's a direct reflection of a world broken by distrust and segregation. The architecture blends centuries of history with technological implants, creating a constant contrast between the past and an unequal future. You feel this weight as you walk through the streets, where cameras watch and drones patrol the silence. Everything you do here impacts the gameplay. The narrow alleys hide alternative routes. The tall buildings become infiltration points, and every blocked access can be overcome with hacking or smarts. It's the kind of map that encourages creativity without forcing you down a single path. The game's rhythm shifts depending on your approach: stealthy, violent, diplomatic. The city serves all these styles, adapting to the player. Even though it's controlled by barriers, guards, and political tension, the place still breathes. The inhabitants talk, protest, and hide. The streets aren't just there to be seen, but to be lived with attention. You feel like part of something larger, even if you're just another piece on the board. And that sense of being immersed in a real conflict is what makes every step here so engaging. Few games have managed to recreate a real city with as much detail as this one. In The Division 2, Washington, D.C. appears destroyed, yet incredibly recognizable, with historic monuments, wide streets, and institutional buildings overtaken by chaos. The capital of the United States has become a battlefield between factions, agents, and civilians trying to survive. And despite the destruction, each location still carries traces of its original purpose. It's a war fought amid what once symbolized order. The city isn't just there as a backdrop. It impacts everything you do. Combat missions, exploration, and collection become more intense because they take place in real-world locations like squares, museums, and administrative districts. Verticality, alternate access points, and cover routes make each confrontation unique. Walking armed between government buildings changes your sense of urgency. Every street, even devastated, was designed to influence your behavior on the battlefield. Even in ruins, it lives on. Groups fight for territory, survivors build shelters, and the atmosphere shifts between hope and despair. The environmental sounds, the degraded visuals, and the interactive elements reinforce the feeling of being in a functional place, even if wounded. It's more than just a representation. It's an agonizing simulation of how everything can crumble fast. And within this setting, every step you take feels like an attempt to recover what's been lost. Swapping the narrow alleys and nighttime streets of Japan for a sun-soaked paradise may seem odd at first, but it works. And like a dragon infinite wealth, Honolulú isn't just a change of scenery. It's a complete shift in atmosphere for the series. The city is vibrant, bright, full of life, with beaches, shopping areas, and residential neighborhoods that make you want to stroll slowly just to take it all in. And even with this initial lightness, there's plenty of story at every corner. The contrast between beauty and conflict creates something unique. The map is vast and built to be explored at a relaxed pace, absorbing the details. Main and side missions are spread out everywhere, and the game's rhythm adapts to the environment. You chat with locals, resolve unexpected issues, and meet characters who feel like they've stepped out of a real trip. Side activities, mini-games, and casual interactions happen constantly. And as usual with the series, everything can change in the blink of an eye. The city doesn't try to appear perfect. It's full of exaggerations, visual jokes, and bizarre surprises. But amid the comedy, there's a genuine respect for the setting being portrayed. The sounds of the waves, the accents of the NPCs, the architecture, and even the fast food joints help create a charismatic and believable version of Hawaii. The result is an environment that invites the player to stay longer. And when that happens, you can already say that the city has done its job. Rebuilding a medieval city based on historical records isn't an easy task. But here, it's taken to the extreme. In Kingdom Come, Deliverance 2, Kuttenberg stands as one of the most faithful representations of a 15th century European city. Nothing is stylized or fantastical. Dirt roads, stone and wood buildings, noisy markets, and churches that dominate the skyline create a raw but immersive setting. The immersion comes from authenticity, not spectacle. Realism directly influences gameplay. The streets weren't designed to make your path easier. They reflect how cities truly were: organic, disorganized, and sometimes confusing. Navigating the space requires attention, whether on foot or horseback. Missions force you to observe local habits, business hours, and even where to sleep safely. There are no flashing icons or modern conveniences. The city demands that you learn how to live in it. Merchants, blacksmiths, nobles, soldiers, and peasants interact with you as your reputation changes. The sounds of tools, prayers, and conversations form a natural and dense soundtrack. And the most impactful thing is realizing that, even without magic or legendary creatures, the world holds you with power. The city reminds you that you're living in a real era with real problems, and that sense makes every detail more meaningful. Not every game needs to get everything right to leave its mark, and this is the case here. Assassin's Creed Unity was criticized for bugs, problematic AI, and a plot that didn't excite as expected. But one thing no one questioned was the city. Paris is recreated with an impressive attention to detail, capturing the weight of the French Revolution in every street, square, and cathedral. It's like walking through a living historical scene. The verticality of the architecture completely changes the way you play. Climbing churches, hiding behind columns, crossing halls through windows, and using alleys to escape become part of your natural repertoire. The city isn't just beautiful, it works. Missions spread across neighborhoods with their own identity, and each route has more than one viable path. You feel like you can enter and exit anywhere if you pay attention to the space. Even with all the game's stumbles, the environment carries the experience on its back. The realistic lighting, the sounds of the crowd, the accessible interiors, and the fluidity between areas create a Paris that never tires. You walk through it out of curiosity, not obligation. And it's this geographical immersion that saves the game from being forgotten. When everything else fails, the city still convinces you to keep going. Switching chaotic action for moments of contemplation isn't common in superpower games, but this one makes you want to. Infamous Second Son recreates Seattle with a surprising attention to climate, architecture, and urban lifestyle. The fine rain, reflections on the sidewalks, and the always cloudy sky create an atmosphere that matches the tone of the story. Even when the game falters in plot decisions or the choice system, the environment still holds everything firmly in place. The city was built to be traversed smoothly. You run along walls, slide between wires, jump from building to building, and as you gain new powers, the way you navigate changes completely. This turns movement into a constant dance between you and the buildings. Missions, combat, and exploration are tied to the map. The space isn't neutral. It shapes how you play. The city responds well to both chaos and speed. What's most interesting is that, even with creative liberties, everything feels believable. The districts have personality, NPCs react naturally, and the visual effects reinforce the sense of being in a real place. It's not just a functional city. It's a space that invites exploration outside the main mission. And that's rare in a game that, in the end, works better because of its setting than its story. Silence isn't just a detail, it's part of the threat. In Silent Hill 2 Remake, the city returns with even more weight, recreated with haunting fidelity and an atmosphere that traps you with discomfort. There are no crowds, no traffic, no color. Just fog, distant noises, and that constant feeling that something is lurking. Every abandoned street and every locked building serves to reinforce isolation. And this isolation becomes the true enemy. The map seems small on paper, but each part is designed to reinforce tension. The player gets lost not by size, but by repetition and visual oppression. You hesitate before entering a hallway, open doors carefully, and learn to read the details of the environment as signs of danger. The city becomes an emotional reflection of the protagonist, and, at the same time, a psychological test for the player. It's a place where walking hurts more than fighting. The renewed visuals only accentuate this discomfort. The texture of the fog, the muffled sound of footsteps, the voices that vanish before making sense. Everything works to maintain a broken mood, as if something's wrong all the time. It's not a place you want to be, but it's impossible to ignore. The city doesn't need to attack you to scare you. It just needs to stay still, waiting for you to take the next step. A modern metropolis taken over by spirits and absolute silence. That's the concept. In GhostWire Tokyo, the city is presented realistically, but shrouded in a supernatural layer that transforms everything that seems familiar. The streets are still full of billboards, vending machines, and illuminated facades, but there are no people, just echoes of what was left behind. You walk among memories frozen in time, and every corner seems to hide something that shouldn't be there. The urban space shapes combat and exploration. You cross narrow alleys, scale buildings with the help of spiritual powers, and clear areas dominated by corrupted energy. The districts differ not only by architecture, but by the type of threat they present. Missions spread naturally across the city, and the pace of progression respects the environment. Tokyo doesn't push you. It pulls you slowly, with mystery and strangeness. The art direction values the contrast between the hyperrealism of the city and the surrealism of the entities occupying it. Muffled sounds, constant rain, and an unsettling soundtrack reinforce discomfort. Even recognizing the places, you feel like a foreigner, out of place. This Tokyo isn't the everyday one. It's an empty, melancholic version that tries to maintain its appearance, while everything collapses inside. And in this mood, even walking becomes a mental challenge. When a city is an essential part of the story, it needs to breathe with the game, and here that happens all the time. In Sleeping Dogs, Hong Kong isn't just an exotic setting, it's the core of all the decisions, conflicts, and relationships that happen. Narrow streets, crowded markets, buildings pressed up against each other, and lights that never go out create a constant sense of energy. It's an urban space that feels truly alive, no matter the time of day. The map was made to be traveled organically. You ride motorcycles down avenues, fight in closed alleys, climb improvised structures, and find side activities without leaving the narrative. The city serves the gameplay intelligently, offering verticality, population density, and a good dose of controlled chaos. Each area presents a different lifestyle, and the missions take advantage of this with smart variations in rhythm and space. The sound environment, the Cantonese voices, the street announcements, and even the music playing in stores create an extra layer of immersion. It's not just a recreation. It's a living tribute to a complex city marked by contrast between tradition and modernity. You feel the weight of local culture on every corner. And the more time you spend in this space, the more it convinces you it was built with purpose and respect. Few games manage to recreate the atmosphere of an era as well as this one. In Mafia Definitive Edition, Lost Heaven is a fictional city inspired by 1930s America, but with such care to detail that it feels like it's come out of a documentary. The wide streets, trams, old ads, and noisy cars form a setting that doesn't need exaggeration to work. The city convinces because it understands the time it's set in, and that's evident in every corner. It's not a map made for unrestricted freedom, and this works in favor of the proposal. The missions follow a more linear path, but the surrounding space contributes to reinforce the weight of the actions. Escaping the police requires knowing the neighborhoods, and each zone has its rhythm, traffic, and shortcuts. Chases gain tension with the urban topography, and the use of roads and tunnels becomes a strategic element. The city reinforces the climate of danger and control. The rainy weather, the illuminated signs at night, the sound of sirens, and the radios playing jazz create an atmosphere worthy of noir cinema. Lost Heaven seems to live between glamour and violence, between luxurious halls and dimly lit alleys. And even though it's fictional, it carries a rare authenticity. It's more than just a backdrop, it's a city designed to tell a story of rise and fall. And it does so with style. Being a superhero is cool, but being a superhero in New York is on another level. In Spider-Man, the city doesn't just serve as a backdrop. It's a crucial part of the character's identity. The skyscrapers, the busy intersections, the parks, and the urban details create one of the most dynamic versions of the city ever seen in games. You feel like you're in a living metropolis, full of movement, sounds, and little events that make everything seem authentic. Moving between buildings turns exploration into something fluid and addictive. Every block offers different opportunities for combat, patrol, and interaction. Missions spread naturally, and the game uses verticality and urban density to create rhythm and variety. You don't just cross the city, you live in it, engage with it. And the faster you move, the more it seems to adapt to your style. The atmosphere goes beyond the visuals. Sirens in the background, passerby conversations, lights reflecting in windows, and the changing weather throughout the day all reinforce the realism. Even with intense action, there's always room to slow down and observe. The city has its own identity, and even if you know New York only from movies, you'll feel at home. Few games have connected protagonist and environment as this one did, and that's what makes everything so impactful. Turning a sunny, vibrant city into a nightmare full of blood and chaos is no easy task, but it works here. In Dead Island 2, Los Angeles is recreated with a detailed yet caricatured eye, mixing luxury, decay, and violence in equal parts. Celebrity homes, shopping streets, deserted beaches, and abandoned mansions create a contrast that catches attention from the start. The gameplay directly supports the city's structure. The areas are divided into specific zones, each with its own challenges and enemies. Verticality, weapon placement, and environmental objects influence how you fight and move. Exploring isn't just walking, it's paying attention to details to find shortcuts, traps, and resources. The city doesn't offer total freedom, but makes great use of what it provides, keeping the pace dynamic. What stands out most is the attention to atmosphere. Every place has personality, accumulated dirt, overturned furniture, broken billboards, and that golden light that only exists at the end of a Californian afternoon. Even with zombies everywhere, you feel like you're in a place that once had life, and still carries traces of it. It's a destroyed Los Angeles, yes, but with a strange, almost seductive charm. And that's what makes the city unforgettable even in the middle of the apocalypse. So, tell me, which of these cities did you enjoy exploring the most? And if you could visit one in real life, which would it be? If you can, subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never be unsure of what to play again. I'm leaving 2 videos in the card. One I've selected for you and another the YouTube algorithm picked. Just Just click on one of them to watch. Big hugs, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.